friends.
Hi, friends.
We're back. It's episode 91 of the Brunch and Judge.
Party.
It's a party. I'm not at home, as you can see from my bad lighting.
She's on the road.
I'm on the road doing the work thing for the boyfriend because it worked out.
Because you're a good girlfriend.
I'm a good girlfriend. That's right.
That's right.
So bear with us if this is a slightly different sound episode. We'll find out when I go back and edit. Fun.
Right.
But welcome this week as we will be talking about paranormal things. But first, Claire.
Yes.
What are you judging this week?
I'm judging. I went to the movies today.
Did you? Did you go to the movies?
I did go to the movies. And we went to see this wonderful little movie that I had never heard of until you told me about it, called Dix the Musical. If you're into really irreverent, crass humor, that's like, we were sitting there and Kristen leaned over. My friend Kristen went with me and she was like, "This is giving me Matt and Trey vibes, like the people who wrote South Park." It very much is like that kind of vibe. So like we're gonna like make fun of things to piss you off, you know.
We're gonna push a lot of boundaries today.
Right. Yes. Yes. We're gonna step.
In fact, we're gonna see that boundary that you have, and we're gonna be like, "Peace out." We're going way beyond.
Yeah, we're gonna dive right off that cliff. Yeah. But I'm not judging the movie itself because it was hilarious. It was so funny. Anyway, like, we were cracking up, and it's got Megan Mullally and Nathan Lane in it, and that alone is worth it. Anyway.
Nathan Lane by far was my favorite part of that movie. I loved him so much the entire time. Like, everything about Nathan Lane was perfect.
I know. So I'm not really judging the movie itself because we were cracking up. I am judging the previews that were before the movie. Because I'm here for this new kind of genre that's happening. Now apparently there's this like holiday horror genre that's like popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a Thanksgiving movie. It was just called Thanksgiving, but it was like a horror holiday Thanksgiving movie about Thanksgiving, and it was like a guy dressed up as a pilgrim killing people, and I'm like, what is this? Usually I am not here for horror movies, like, just, you know, blood and guts and blah blah blah. Like, I really liked Krampus because it was campy. It really didn't take itself too seriously. Like, it was more like horror comedy, which, I mean, there's like a fine line. But I really loved Krampus because it was just like, this is a holiday movie that's horror and I love it. It's ridiculous. And it's kind of like with this Thanksgiving thing. I was just like, I'm kind of here for this. I almost want to see this. It's a guy dressed up as a pilgrim with like a mask. It almost looks like a Guy Fawkes mask.
It does, yeah.
Did it not? Okay, yeah.
I had that same vibe. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but he's like dressed in like the pilgrim hat and the garb, and you're with this mask on. You're like, what's happening here? I have to know. I'm intrigued. But then right after it, there was another one that was like a Christmas horror movie, and it was about a girl who winds up unmasking a serial killer and saving, you know, the town from this serial killer. But then she wishes that she were never born, and then it happens. And so now she's there, and this serial killer is running amok because she was never born to stop this guy. And they don't know who she is. They're like, "Who are you?" You know? And she's like, "But I'm your daughter, and I'm this and that." And they're like, "We don't know who you are." And I'm like, "Oh my God, what is this?" But the best thing about this was the title. It's called It's a Wonderful Knife. And I'm like, what? I am here for that. I am here for that kind of like dad joke nonsense.
Mhm.
That's like, it's a holiday horror movie called It's a Wonderful Knife. What? Yes, sign me up.
I loved
Take
it.
my money.
I saw that preview as well, and I was just like, I hate it. Hate it.
I know how much you hate that original movie. I know
It's
how
a
much you do.
Wonderful Life. There's nothing about that movie that is good and positive. I will argue with anybody over that forever because it's hot trash, okay? There's nothing feel good about that movie. So the fact that someone watched that movie, I'm like, what if we take this movie, but make it a horror movie? And I'm like, sold. Sold. I will absolutely watch that movie. I'm here for it.
Yes. What's so funny is it's like, you know, from the get-go who the killer was.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's sitting here looking at the killer like straight in the face and it's like trying to like convince people this guy's the killer.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody believes her because they don't know who she is. Because she never existed.
Right.
Because the killer's like a prominent person in the community. But anyway, it's just so funny because I'm like, I'm here for this. This is giving me Krampus vibes. I need to see this. I'm here. Yes. Sign me up. So those are my judges. I'm like, I'm kind of here for this new like holiday horror genre that's like kind of making a little resurgence here because it's like, this is interesting. I know that there have been others like in the past, but it was just like this was today, and it was like 2 right in a row, and I was like,
yeah,
because a lot of them I don't ever hear about until after they're already out, you know. But this was the first 2 that I'm like, I don't go to the movies a whole lot because you know now you get streaming and all that other stuff. So
it's like why?
Yeah, exactly. But today it was like, oh, I've never heard of this Dix thing. We're gonna go see this. I got my friends, got a couple of friends, and we drove to Louisville to see it. And those were some of the previews we saw. We were like, we need to like add this to our list to come see these things because this is ridiculous. Let's do this. So yeah, I'm gonna check both of those out sometime because they sound amazing. Probably amazingly terrible, but I'm still here for it.
But I think that's what the draw is for me. Is I want the terrible. I want it.
Right.
I want the amazingly terrible movie.
But the thing is, it's like I want them to lean into that. Like lean into that and like go for it. Like don't take yourself too seriously. I think that's what I'm looking for.
I love it. I love it so much.
That's what I'm here for. But anyway, that's my judge. Were the previews that were like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just funny that they were in front of this like comedy musical that had nothing to do with horror or killing or anything, you know. It was just like,
but I think it's the same campy vibe,
right? Yes, definitely. But I was just like, this is interesting. I kind of want to see these. But yeah, that's my judge. Oh, and go see Dix the musical. It's hilarious if you're not easily offended.
Yes.
So
definitely go see Dix the musical.
Yeah. If you're not easily offended, go see it. Anyway, so what are you judging?
Well, I would like to say that one, I loved Dix the musical. There are some parts that I was kind of like,
right,
but
right.
I never imagined that there could be such beauty in letting your pussy fall off and turn into a butterfly that flies.
Oh my
away.
God. Oh my, that was like next level. Like for a minute, I was like, oh my God, this is like Alien when it like latched onto that guy's face on the mat. I was like, what is happening right now? I can't.
Mm-hmm. So there's that. Now, what I would like to judge, and I think I mentioned it in our last episode, that Spencer and I were going to watch the new Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Yes.
And that I had high hopes for it. I was very excited. And it talked about a really great movie called Willy's Wonderland that is sort of a knockoff. And so, well, we watched it. And like, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it was really terrible. Like the writing was terrible. The storyline was like they apparently there's a lot of lore around this game that Spencer filled me in on because he watched somebody who like really played it and like dove deep into getting all the little Easter eggs and learning
Mm-hmm.
the story behind it. And so like they didn't do that justice at all.
Okay.
And they like created this character who just felt really confusing. Like just this random cop character that just like shows up and is like, I'm like a friend, but I'm somehow also know that the things are possessed, but I also know that they'll kill you. And it's like, but she doesn't tell him it. Like it's one of those things where like a conversation would have like erased the entire point of the like. And I'm like, I hate. And like her particular character, and it's not. I'm not saying it's the actress's fault. You will not hear me say that.
Right.
Because I have no idea. I've never seen her in anything else. But like her lines were terrible. The storyline was terrible. It was just really bad. And so we went to look at like the Rotten Tomatoes score and reviews. And somebody was like, do not watch this movie. It makes Willy's Wonderland look like a cinematic masterpiece. And I was like, not wrong. Because again, I tell you, Willy's Wonderland is excellent. Go watch that movie. It is exactly, and you would love it, Claire, because it's that little bit of like, it's that humor horror. It's campy. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's horror. People get murdered, but like Nicolas Cage
right.
is epic and he's hilarious. And you're just like, what the hell is this thing?
Right.
And it is exactly what Five Nights at Freddy's should have been. And
right.
So, but like, I never say this. Like, I've never like, again, I watch Dix the Musical, guys, and there are things there that will haunt me for probably the rest of my life that will never leave my brain. 2 words, Sewer Boys.
Right.
But still, good movie. It's funny and it knew what it was, but Five Nights at Freddy's had no idea what it was. It was so bad.
Aw, you were excited. You were like, I'm excited to watch it.
Well, because like I'd had like the game story, plot, and lore kind of explained to me. Like,
okay,
and like kids love it, and like I understood that this was a movie that they made PG-13 so that the kids who had read all the books and were playing the game could watch it. So like I wasn't expecting a rated R horror movie.
Right.
I was expecting a storyline that was sensible or sensible. Like there's that you're like, okay, so bad. And like left out some of the great stuff that's in the game, like this I don't know if you've ever played or watched anybody who's played, but like there's all these things that you have to do basically to keep the possessed animatronic things from killing you. And like none of that was really part of this movie. It's not like, oh, I have to make sure I do this. Like there was like a nod or a hint if you knew, but it just not good. But no one liked it. Apparently everybody thought it was a shitty movie, so
nice.
The only one.
You were not alone.
I was not alone.
Aw. Well, I'm sorry that it did not live up to your expectations.
Thank you. Like, I need somebody to apologize to me, and I don't know who that is, but somebody needs to apologize.
You're like, look, you like, go find the production company and be like,
we go through like bursts of watching a lot of movies. Like we'll be like, oh, we're watching all these movies, and then we'll never watch anything ever again for months on end.
Right.
And so we're in one of those times where we're not really watching a whole lot. Like we watched The Fall of the House of Usher.
Mm-hmm.
And we made a concerted effort to watch this movie. And for it to be so bad, I was like, man, I wasted a movie night on this.
Right. You're just like, it's 2 hours of my life I can't get back.
So bad. So bad. Ugh. So don't watch it. It's bad.
I did watch the new Haunted Mansion.
Oh, how was it?
On Halloween when I got home from my job. And it was cute. I enjoyed it. And then like partway through, I'm like, Disney, this is a scary movie. Like, why are you up here in my feels making me cry? Like, stop. Stop it. Like, it was intense though. Like, I remember the first one with Eddie Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was, cheesy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one was less comedy, even with Owen Wilson, because Owen Wilson is goofy. Mm-hmm. But like this one was more intense. Like the bad guy part was way more intense than the other one.
Huh.
And I was just like, and it was a little bit darker too, with like themes of, death and almost suicide for a little. I mean, so it was like, or like having loved ones who've passed and you are so desperate to see them again that you that you yourself would be willing to die just to go see them again,
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's just like, this is getting dark, It's like,
Hmm.
And it was just like Disney all up in my feels, making me get a little teary eyed watching Haunted Mansion. Jeez. If I wanted to cry, I'd go watch Up. Gosh.
Well, there we have it. There's our judges. Very movie centric this week. What can I say?
It was.
Go watch all the movies. Except
Yes.
for Five Nights at Freddy. Don't watch that one. It's terrible.
Just don't waste your time. Don't waste your time.
I'm gonna be angry about it for a while. I'm just letting you know. I'm just gonna be.
It just is. It's just how it is.
It really annoyed me. But what I did do on my flight, I did watch Theater Camp.
Oh, how was that?
It was really good. I mean, it's funny and it's
oh yeah,
ridiculous or whatever, but like it was good. It was the right amount of comical and ridiculous and
right
campy, but also enough heartwarming that you're like,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been wanting to watch that so bad because it looks like it's like right up my alley. It's like, I know people who are like this.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But all right, I guess we should get to our topic of the day.
Yes.
It's time for paranormal. And I go first?
Yes.
I go first. So I bring to you my favorite paranormal place.
Uh-oh.
The Winchester Mystery House.
Ooh.
Okay, so I got all of my information from the Winchester Mystery House website. Wikipedia, Atlas Obscura, Mental Floss, the Smithsonian, and an episode of Criminal, the podcast.
Okay.
That I don't know if it's still on or not, but whatever. I think it is. I used to listen to it all the time. So I'm going to be talking about Sarah Lockwood Pardee, who eventually became Sarah Winchester.
Yes.
And she was born sometime in the year 1840. We don't know the exact date because people didn't care about daughters then to write stuff like that down.
They're just like, meh. It was in this vicinity.
Sometime in this year.
We don't know.
Fine. That's fine.
It's fine. We don't know. We don't care.
So she was born to Leonard and Sarah Pardee. This is another one of those, oh, my name's Sarah, so I'm going to name my daughter Sarah.
Oh my gosh. Of course. Always.
She was born and grew up in New Haven, Connecticut.
Uh-oh.
She had 5 sisters and 1 brother, and I'm quite certain they wrote down the brother's birthday, so they know what day he was born, but whatever.
Of course. Always.
And for her first 22 years of life, basically a mystery because she was a woman and no one cared, so they didn't write anything down.
Facts.
Just letting you know.
And it's always like, it's between this decade and this decade. And I'm like, wow, you couldn't even like nail it down for like, jeez.
Mm-hmm. She was very petite, very small. She's only 4 foot 10 inches tall.
Oh, wow.
And weighed 95 pounds. So she's tiny.
Dang.
Little tiny thing.
Ooh.
But she was known as one of the great beauties of the area because that's all that mattered then. And
being tiny.
Being tiny and also being beautiful. And they nicknamed her Belle of New Haven.
Oh, well, she's fancy.
So September 1862 is when we finally learned something about her because she did something that people cared about. She got married.
Oh, she tied herself to a man.
She sure did. She married William Wirt Winchester, son of Oliver and Jane Winchester. William also had two sisters, Anne and Hannah. And the dad, Oliver, William's dad, Oliver, in 1866 developed the first Winchester rifle.
Okay, so that Winchester.
That was
okay, gotcha.
named the Yellow Boy. I don't know why. I'm sure it's racist, but
Or, like, it's usually back then, like, when they said they were yellow, you were a coward.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's fair.
Does it mean that it would make people yellow and they would turn coward and they would run?
You know, I like that. It's a good thought because it was a very popular gun. I'm just around the world popular. Like France purchased like 6,000,
right,
as well as 4.5 million cartridges in order to fight in the Franco-Prussian War. The Ottoman Empire purchased 45,000 for the Russo-Turkish War because this rifle allowed the shooter to fire several shots. 15 shots before they had to reload.
Gotcha.
Which, up until that point, we just had like single shot shotguns. So like you'd shoot a shot and then you have to put in a new cartridge and then you could shoot a shot.
Gotcha.
And it meant, from the single shot guns, even the fastest shooters could only shoot like 2 shots in a minute because you had to like do the thing. I don't know. I don't know things about guns, guys. Shocker.
I don't know things about guns.
I'm not an antique gun dealer, I'm afraid. Sorry. I don't know how they worked. But it was really super successful, and they made a crap ton of money. Shock surprise. And it changed how war was fought because like a single person could now basically like shoot rapidly and kill a bunch of people. So thanks for that.
Thanks.
So lots of guns were bought, lots of wars were fought with it. So lots of people got shot by this firearm, which is a necessary piece of information for later. Hold on to that. Lots of people died.
Okay, noted.
Yay. So in July of 1866, after several miscarriages, Annie Hardy Winchester is born to Sarah and William. It's their first baby that made it. But 5.5 weeks after she was born, she died.
Oh, that's sad.
She died from a disease called, I have no idea how to say this. Maramus? Maramus? I don't know. Essentially, it is a disease that some infants are born with, in which they can't process the nutrients and proteins that they get from, and I guess at that point, breast milk or whatever they were fed.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, she wasn't getting any nutritional value from it and ultimately died basically from, like, malnutrition. So,
even though she was
eating, it's just her body couldn't absorb any of it. Like, the food, the nutrients and things to replenish. So, like,
oh, that sucks.
Yes. And so she died, and that was horrible and tragic. And Sarah and William would never have another child. So she was it. In 1873, Oliver Winchester created a new rifle.
Oh, boy.
That became known as the gun that won the West. And was one of the most successful and popular rifles in that entire time. So previously, I mean, so this is the time in which like all of the Western expansion crap is happening. People are moving west, and there's a lot of Native Americans and indigenous peoples who, were there. And so lots of skirmishes pop up. And before this gun, people were still basically using the single shot guns. And so Native Americans, if they were in a skirmish with some of the, I don't know what you want to call the invaders, whatever, the settlers,
right?
They knew that after the first shot was fired, they had some time to attack before they were able to shoot another shot.
Gotcha.
But now that there was this repeating rifle in the hands of basically everybody, they lost that advantage.
Okay.
So, again, lots of people died from this gun. It's good to remember that.
Hooray.
Oh, but it's time for a random fun fact.
Uh-oh. Random fun fact.
So the phrase, the gun that won the West, was coined by a young engineer at the Winchester Company named Edwin Pugsley.
Okay.
Who later married into the Winchester family and would become vice president. But he was really good friends with a cartoonist named Charles Addams, who created a family you might be aware of, the Addams Family. And named one of his Addams Family characters after Edwin Pugsley.
Nice.
Pugsley.
That's why I was like, wait a minute.
Pugsley. So that's my fun fact.
Nice.
Okay. So we're going to move forward. It is now the year 1880. And Sarah's mother dies. I mean, it happens, but so she dies. She dies in May. Sarah, of course, is very distraught. It's her mother. In December, William's dad, Oliver, dies.
Oh, wow.
And leaves the entire huge Winchester fortune to William, who is the only son and heir to the company.
Okay.
And at this point, William is actually seriously ill. Like, he's very, very sick. He has tuberculosis.
Okay.
So 3 months later, in 1881, he dies. So at this point, we have...
So she's the only one left, right?
She's it. So we have Sarah, who now has the entire fortune of the Winchester Company, which was $20 million at that point. But in today money is like over $500 million.
Oh my gosh.
She also has 50% of the shares in the company that alone, on top of this, the millions, gives her an income of $1,000 a day at that time, which today is like $30,000 a day.
Oh my Lord.
So like,
that's bananas.
The obscene amounts of money is, I mean,
right.
Like, everybody's dead. And she now has...
And she's got it all.
Obscene amounts of money. And she was devastated. Because, like, she never really recovered from the death of her daughter.
Right.
And then, like, her mom dies. And then her father-in-law dies. And then her husband dies in less than a year.
Mm-hmm.
So, at this time in America, another thing was going on. Not just a bunch of guns, but spiritualism.
Oh, boy.
So it was super popular. People were really into spiritualism in America. And because this is like after the Civil War, there's a lot of people who have died as a result of the Civil War. And so there's families who are turning to spiritualism to try and connect with some of their loved ones that they lost in those battles. Their sons, their brothers, their husbands, And like so many other widows and bereaved parents in the, middle and upper classes who had that extra dosh lying around, Sarah, too, turned to a medium.
Mm-hmm.
She just really wanted to contact her dead husband to talk to him. She was,
Right.
mourning his loss. And in Boston, a medium was able to channel her husband.
Yeah.
In which William told her through the medium that all of the tragedies of their life, including the death of their daughter, the fact that her mom died and his dad died and he died,
right,
was because of the blood money the family made off of the sale of the Winchester rifles.
Okay.
He warned her.
Uh-huh.
He warned her that the vengeful ghosts of these dead people would be seeking her out and that she must try and protect herself. And the way to do that is to travel west. And she needed to build a home for herself and for the spirits that were probably going to track her down. The people who fell victim of the Winchester rifles.
Oh, no.
So what did she do? In 1885, she finally, after many years of planning and effort, she arrives in California. And in 1886, she finds and purchases an 8-room farmhouse in San Jose. And she hires carpenters to work in shifts of like 16 at a time. Like here's 16, there's 16.
Yeah.
And they were paid 3 times the going rate at the time in order to have people there working constantly 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this, like, her staff were really loyal to her, probably because she paid really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And they hardly ever would leave her employ. And so on top of her ever-present construction team that's always constructing, she had 18 servants and 18 gardeners so that she was never alone. Ever.
I mean, I just can't imagine. Like, I feel like I would need some me time.
I mean, I agree. So began the longest home restoration / renovation in history.
I mean, fair.
So, this is where I'm going to pop up a picture of the Winchester house. This place is massive. You will never see anything quite like this in your life. And
have you been there?
I have not. I wanted to go, but San Jose was far, far away from LA.
Gotcha.
This house had no architect. There's no like formal design.
Yeah.
Just Sarah, she would hastily sketch designs on napkins or on like the brown paper that, they had around, wrapping paper kind of things, and would give that to the carpenters and be like, I want you to build some additions. Let's have some towers and some cupolas and some more rooms.
Yes.
So the building and designs were added since there was no architect and just randomly drawn on napkins in a very haphazard way, so that it created a lot of really bizarre oddities within the house. So in one case, there are several doors that when you open them, it's not like you're going into a room. It's just a wall. You open the door, like, there's a wall.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
In one case, there's a door that when you open it, it's just a sheer drop straight down, like outside. So, like, don't step out that door.
Oh my gosh.
There are stairs that when you go to walk up them, they just lead to the ceiling. They don't take you anywhere.
Okay.
There are windows that overlook other rooms because, well, let's just put a window here. Why not? There are cabinets that when you open them, it actually takes you into another room, almost like it's a door.
Oh my gosh.
And in some cases, like, there would be a room that would be built that would be completed, and like the very next day after it was completed, it would just be plastered over. Like, and
That's bizarre.
so there are some other weird oddities there, including balconies on the inside of the house instead of
Right,
like
yeah.
outside. There are chimneys that stop several floors short of the roof, so you can't actually use the fireplace.
Oh no. You imagine like trying to and you're like, I'm dying.
I know, right?
Why is there smoke in the house?
Why is smoke in my house? There are some floors that have skylights in them because it was a roof at one point, I guess. I don't know.
Oh no.
Let's see. There's a linen closet that is as big as an apartment. Why not? I mean, and this linen closet that is literally as big as an apartment is right next to a cupboard that is less than an inch deep. So
You're
that's
like,
weird.
Make that make sense.
There are child-sized doors next to normal-sized doors. You go into the same room. I mean, why not?
Oh my gosh.
There is a closet door that can't open. And there's a secret door that can only open from the outside. So if you go in, then you're trapped forever.
No. That's like my worst nightmare. No, 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 no.
And there are like more secret passages in this place than the Clue House and Narnia combined. I'm telling you.
Oh, I have no doubt.
There is one cabinet that, when it's opened, will actually extend through 30 rooms, and you're like, "What the hell?"
God, that's crazy.
But so, like, it is a really bizarre, haphazard house. Like, none of the things make sense. But even though it is weird and bizarre and haphazard, and cupboards that aren't useful, and all of these things, Sarah did not skimp on the adornments, because I mean, let's remember, she was getting like 30 grand a day,
right,
doing nothing. She had to do nothing. And so there are Tiffany stained glass windows, one that was designed by Tiffany himself, so that when the sunlight hits the prismatic crystals, it will cast a rainbow across the room.
Wow.
Does that sound lovely?
It does. Like, why did he waste this time on this batshit crazy woman?
Well, especially because guess where it is?
It's probably not anywhere where sunlight's going to get it, right?
On an interior wall in a room with no light exposure. So there's no sun to pass through it to see the pretty rainbow. What a waste.
Why?
There is another Tiffany window that was designed specifically for her that includes a spider web window and features like her favorite web design, which I didn't realize one could have a favorite web design, but I mean, why not? That window, however, was never installed, so it's just like sitting in a storage room. A Tiffany designed window.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So the work continued until what started off as an 8-room farmhouse became a 7-story Victorian giant.
7 stories. Oh my God.
7 stories. And Sarah was nuts. Terrified that if construction was ever quote unquote complete, that she would die. So she made sure that it never stopped.
I mean, that's weird, but whatever.
And on top of all that, every night she would hold a seance in there's like a turret within the house. And it's now they call it the witch's camp. But she would go in there from midnight to 2 a.m. every night alone. And when she would go in, she would ring a bell at midnight in order to call the spirits to her. And then she would ring it again at 2 a.m. to be like, okay, it's time for you to go. And so then the next morning she would have new building plans. So I guess the thought is that perhaps the spirits were telling her what they wanted in order to, not torment her or hurt her or whatever.
Right.
And so that is kind of why the house is so bizarre. But she also thought that having like stairs that would lead nowhere and like weird hallways and doors that open to nothing would help keep like the ghosts, the tormentors from finding her. They'd get lost.
Oh, okay. Like make it
like
make
a giant
confusing.
maze and be very
confusing. Right.
Yes. And she would sleep in a different bedroom every night. So like she would just bounce around so that they couldn't.
I mean, I couldn't do that. I'd be like, oh, my clothes are over here. I don't want to have to go over there. Like my contacts and stuff. It's like,
But even though there was this huge house with all these bedrooms for her to, Goldilocks zone around through.
Right.
There was only one working toilet.
No, that's not okay.
Now, there were several other restrooms in the house, but they were decoys to confuse the spirits.
No!
Yes.
You have decoy bathrooms?
You have decoy bathrooms.
That's not good for anybody. That is not good for anybody involved. Oh, I'm sorry. This was a decoy bathroom, sir. You're gonna... No. Like, no. Don't do that. That's just mean.
I mean, I'm with you. I mean, that's just asking for bad things to happen. So this is how her life kind of continued until 1906, when things, of course, got worse.
As they do.
As they do. So in 1906, on April the 16th at 5:12 in the morning, a 7.9 magnitude earthquake hit San Francisco and destroyed over 80% of San Francisco. Now, San Jose is just outside of San Francisco.
Right, right.
So in San Francisco, like 3,000 people died. Fires broke out that lasted for days. People were left with nothing. Like, it was really bad.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And that earthquake, when it radiated into San Jose, was strong enough that it toppled the top 3 stories of her house.
Oh, wow.
And it damaged the remaining 4. And Sarah herself was trapped in one of the rooms.
No.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably devastated and knocked 3 stories down.
Yes, right. And so, because her house was so huge and so complicated and a giant maze, it took them a really long time to find her and rescue her.
Wow. I mean, that's fair. That's what you get when you have a big ass house like that.
Thank you, right?
With like all these decoy bathrooms and decoy stairs and bullshit. Yeah, that's what you get.
And so she, of course, believed that earthquake was a sign that the spirits were angry and the house was too close to being completed. So she ordered that the front half of the house would be boarded up, unfinished, so it would never be completed. And even today, if you go visit, you can see the earthquake damage. There's still signs of that earthquake damage in the front half of the house because it was never repaired.
Yeah.
They did unboard it after she died, but up to that point, it just remained boarded.
They just left it.
And so from 1906 until her death, construction did continue, but Sarah also bought a couple of other properties. She bought a house that was closer to her sister and a niece. At some point, no one knows exactly when, but it was after the earthquake, she bought a houseboat in the San Francisco Bay.
A houseboat?
The boat became known as Sarah's Ark, which I think is great. And
nice.
She would occasionally stay there, kind of as insurance against... She now had a fear of a second great flood. I guess she thought the ghosts were going to come and, like, destroy the world. I don't know. That she thought would, like, rival Noah's Ark's great flood. So she's like, I'm ready for it. Oh, my goodness. That boat later was destroyed by a fire, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Sarah died September 5th, 1922. She died in her sleep from heart failure. And... unless it was a ghost. The ghost got her.
Right.
Um, oh no, I lost my place. Ah! Okay. And once they heard the news of her death, carpenters just abruptly stopped work. Like, as soon as she died and all the workers were told, they all just kind of stopped working. They left half-hammered nails in the walls. Like, they just completely stopped. So she basically is known as the woman who built this crazy house, but she herself also was somewhat accomplished. She spoke 4 languages. She played 3 instruments. She contributed to San Jose's growth. She established the William Wirt Winchester Hospital in New Haven for the treatment of tuberculosis, because that's what killed her husband.
Right.
Her service was held in Palo Alto, and she was buried in the Alta Mesa Cemetery. But later her remains were transferred along with her sister to New Haven so that she could be buried with her husband and child.
Gotcha.
There is only one known photo of Sarah Winchester. And it shows a much older Sarah sitting in her horse-drawn carriage, still dressed in all black mourning clothes. She never took them off. After her husband died, she remained in mourning for the rest of her life.
She just wore it all the time. She's like, "This is my brand. I'm here for this."
So at this point, they've done a lot of work there at the house. Like, it's now a cool museum you can go to. There are like ghost tours that you can do there. Almost every podcast ghost show of any kind has been there because, of course, it's super haunted.
Right. I mean,
and so like people who work there, they hear things. They won't stay there alone. I want to go so bad.
I know. Stay there. Like, just seeing the outside of it, you're like, I just want to go see the outside of it just because it looks cool.
Are you kidding? I want to walk up the stairs that go nowhere.
Right, that. But then you hear about things like that, and you're like, I want to go look at this. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But the Winchester Mystery House is my all-time favorite paranormal thing because this woman was plagued for like the majority of her life by what she believed were the ghosts and spirits of all the people that were killed by her father-in-law's guns. Like, she had no part in it whatsoever. But like what
I have in my head too about this house, also like kind of like what the H.H. Holmes house would be, with like, you talk about secret passageways and doors that don't go anywhere, and so that's what also like when I think of like H.H. Holmes and his like murder house.
His murder house, yeah.
I think of like stuff like this too. So it's like the two are almost like in my brain.
They are,
like, the same, even though I know they're not.
Well,
like,
I mean,
but in
one
my
was
head,
to murder people,
like,
and one was to confuse murdered people.
Right. So it's just kind of like,
so not too different, similar to the thought.
Right.
But that is the wild and crazy story of Sarah Winchester and the ghost that haunted her whole life. And you should all go to the Winchester house.
I know, I want to go. I want to go so bad.
We need to have a bestie trip. We need to go to it.
We do. We need to go see. Well, thank you for that. That was a good story. I like that. I like hearing about that house.
There is a movie that has... Oh, crap, what's her name? Did I write it down? I don't know if I wrote it down or not. I didn't. There's a movie about it, sort of like a scary movie or whatever. And it's Helen Mirren. Is that who it is? Who plays Sarah Winchester? It's worth a watch. I mean, it's obviously a bit fictionalized or whatever, but I mean, just amazing. Like, just that house is amazing. The fact that she, had this tragic life because she was a woman and no one cared about her until she got married, and then all the bad things happened.
Right.
Ghosts are plaguing her, and you're like, oh my god. And the ghosts follow her to California.
Right.
And then they're all like, build me this room that I want, and then I'm going to haunt you anyway.
Right.
I'm mad about the decoy bathroom. Just saying.
I know, right? Decoy bathroom.
I wonder how many people made the mistake of the decoy bathroom.
And that's what I'm saying. You don't need a decoy bathroom.
Well, and like, maybe you need one decoy bathroom, but do you need like a lot of them?
Right.
Just asking.
I just feel like that's going to be bad for everybody involved.
Yes.
Nobody is going to be happy with the outcome of that. I can tell you that right now. With a decoy bathroom. No.
But
I would not be. I can tell you that.
No, I would be like, I can just imagine myself walking through the house and being like, man, I gotta pee. And then be like, oh, fuck, I found the decoy.
Right. Like, But would you realize it was the decoy bathroom when you walked in?
No, I realized it when I went to flush and it was like,
that's what I'm saying.
Your pee's on the floor now. And I'm like, no.
Right, exactly.
Nightmares.
100%.
Oh my goodness. But there you have it. That's my paranormal Sarah Winchester, the ghost that haunts your house.
Well, thank you for that. That was lovely.
Thank you. So Claire, what story have you brought us for paranormal?
I'm going to be talking about the Hotel Monte Vista in Flagstaff, Arizona. I
think I've been to Flagstaff. Isn't that weird? I think I stayed there one night when I moved to California.
That is bizarre, yes. My sources are Wikipedia, GhostCityTours.com, Condé Nast Traveler.com, and PhoenixGhost.com. I couldn't read my writing there for a second. I was like, what does that say?
Like, what letter is this?
I know. I was like, what did I write?
Random aside. No one cares. I'm sorry, but I'm telling you anyway.
Uh-huh.
So randomly have been in Kentucky visiting family. You don't care. All this to say, at some point, my mom hands me a notebook and says, "This was your granny's diary." I'm like, "What?"
Oh, Lord.
And like, it is the most like mundane, like today I, did this and made dinner or whatever. But there are these, because it's very short. It's like 2 or 3 sentences of just like the most basic things I did that day. And so
yeah,
I'm just kind of skipping through, but then it'll be like, Luther walked me home from the mailbox and the pastor carried my books home. And I'm like,
who is Luther?
Beats me. Who's the preacher? I don't know. And then it'd be like, Gus hasn't written back in days. I'm like, were you like a player, Granny? Holy cow.
There's Gus.
That would be my grandfather.
Okay.
But apparently we were laughing because it's a very small notebook, but it encompasses several, like 2 or 3 years, I guess, or more, when she was older. And she gets married. And my grandparents went on a honeymoon to Cumberland Falls. Now, this is back in the early 1900s, so that was a big trip. And so in her journal, diary, whatever, it's like the date went to Cumberland Falls, and then nothing else is written for a long time. Like, I know what happened at Cumberland Falls. That's why I have Aunt Chris.
You're like, well, we know why there wasn't any updates in the diary.
Well, and I got very tickled. I'm like, there's all these boys. She's like going to this person's house and going to listen to music and talking to some guy about digging graves. I'm like, who are we digging graves for, Granny? What is happening? So, but I say that because it's all in cursive. It was written entirely in cursive, and I'm like, what's this word? I can't read this.
Right.
Sorry, my aside.
Nice. I love that. Your granny was a player.
I know.
Things you find out later.
I know. I'm like, she is turning in her grave knowing that I've been reading her diary.
I know. Now you know for a fact that she had sex. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Because you were concerned about that. I know you were.
I mean, obviously that was something I wanted to have in my mind to play over and over.
It was.
Mental
I know it was
really helpful to me.
It really was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, back to your paranormal story in Flagstaff.
Oh God, yes. Okay. Hotel Monte Vista was built in 1927 in downtown Flagstaff, Arizona. It had 73 rooms, three floors. Sorry, not three stores, three floors. It was 2-story bar in lounge area
Mm-hmm.
and a post office, which I'm like, that's kind of fancy.
That does feel
Um,
fancy.
it was funded by taxpayers. Few hotels uh, that were publicly owned at the time, and that was one of them. It's right off Route 66 near train station. Was
Okay.
prime for like travelers to
Right,
like
right, right.
stop
That makes
in.
sense.
Yeah. Um, but because it was they've raised money. It was like $200,000. The townspeople raised $200,000 to build this hotel. It was originally named the Community Hotel, and it became Flagstaff's hotspot. And they had a renaming contest, and a 12-year-old girl won the contest, and so it became Monte Vista
Oh,
instead of
I mean,
Community Hotel.
it's better.
Yes, right. But because of like it being like the hot spot and where it was located, a lot of old world kind of Hollywood type stayed there because they filmed in Flagstaff too. So you have people like John Wayne, Bing Crosby, Spencer Tracy, Humphrey Bogart, Clark Gable, Anthony Hopkins also stayed at this
Hmm.
hotel, like while they were shooting, that kind of thing. And it was also the location for filming of Casablanca. So
Oh, that's cool. Shout out to
some
Christy Joe.
I know, right? Hey, Christy Joe, what's your favorite movie? It also hosted the first radio program that was hosted by a woman. She
Wow.
had a 3-hour program, and her name was Mary Costigan.
Costigan?
Uh huh.
Huh. I know that name.
Yep. And this hotel became like the chosen hotel for like the Western craze in the movies. You know, when they started filming all those Western movies.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like one of the hotels that like they would use.
Oh, okay. Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
like on site or whatever. So I guess that's why a lot of people stayed there because they would film. I guess because Flagstaff is like, it's like you're in the middle of nowhere. This looks very westerny. We're gonna shoot out in the desert. We'll just put our people up in this hotel.
Yeah, it's fine. It'll work. It's fine.
Yeah, that's where they stayed. Was at this hotel. It's like, oh, hey, cool. We're gonna all these famous people are gonna stay at your hotel. But in the 1930s, there was prohibition,
Mm-hmm.
and so the bars were ordered to close. But Monte Vista was like, fuck you, we're going to keep on serving. So it kind of became a speakeasy, but that was hardly a secret. Everybody knew about it. It was like, yeah. And finally was shut down in a raid in 1931. But they wound up opening up slot machines to keep customers interested since they weren't selling booze anymore. It's like, oh,
Right.
come play in our slot
Well, then
machines.
come gamble. It'll be fun.
Yeah, yeah. And there was like a network of tunnels underneath Flagstaff, dug by Chinese migrants and businessmen. It was originally like extra space for their businesses or for safe transportation when they were faced with racism, but later used to like smuggle moonshine, host illegal card games, became an opium den, brothel for prostitution, and was a black market during Prohibition. So there's like a whole like literally like underground world
Hmm.
underneath Flagstaff where like all the dirty stuff was going down. And you're like, oh, awesome. This is great. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad this is going on under the hotel. Hooray.
Kitty.
Yeah. But, as with most hotels, I just feel like a lot of hotels are haunted, a lot of
Yeah.
hotels.
Yeah.
Anyway, as with a lot of these old school hotels, it's also haunted. And actually, John Wayne apparently was like one of the first to like report being like seeing a haunting. Like it was,
no way.
yeah, he was like one of the first to be like, this ain't right. Something weird's going on. Yeah. Apparently, in the 1970s, there were some bank robbers that were hiding out at the hotel after robbing a bank. One of the guys was shot. They wound up like booking a room there and grabbed a drink at the bar, and the guy who was wounded succumbed to his gunshot wound at the bar.
Oh,
And yeah, while he was sitting at the bar. And so people now say that they still see him hanging around, sitting at the bar, or the people who come in to open up the bar will hear somebody say good morning
ew,
when they come in. Like there's nobody
ew.
there, but they'll hear somebody greet them good morning, or they'll see like just somebody like out of the corner of their eye sitting at the end of the bar.
Mm-mm.
Or like people will be at the bar and they'll get this feeling like they're being watched, like there's somebody sitting next and there's nobody there, you know.
Mm-mm.
So
Pass, pass, pass.
dead bank robber haunting the bar at the hotel, which is like, no thanks. I don't want. Why are you haunting the bar? Go away. Like no, no, no. Um, in the 1940s, two sex workers were brought back to the hotel by one of their Johns, and
Mm-hmm.
later they were murdered by this guy. He strangled them, and then he threw their bodies out of a third story window in room 306.
No.
Yes. And so they
But
just like,
why?
because he's a dick.
Well, yes.
And they just landed on the pavement outside. So room 306 guests can still feel the presence of these two women. They're angry, obviously.
Fair.
And they have a bigger grudge against men than they do women. People who say they have intense feelings of being watched constantly. And the men who stay in that room say they feel like they are being held down and strangled, like in the night in their sleep.
Ew.
Because it's like that's what happened to them. So they're just like,
Right.
fuck you, we're getting you back.
So you're saying that usually that room is empty and not occupied. Got it.
I would hope so. It's like, no, people get strangled. Jeez.
You know, you gotta be like, if you are maybe like the front desk worker and the people come in and they're all like grouchy and hateful to you, you're like,
Right.
yes, I do have a room for you, sir.
Right,
You'll
exactly.
love one of our
Just
best rooms.
reserve
306.
that for the real douches out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. On the second floor, there's like a phantom bellboy who knocks, asking for room, if you need room service. And then when you go, nobody's there.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's happened more than once, and it's not just some kid playing a prank. And that was one of the ones that John Wayne, like that happened to him. And then plus he said that there was like the spirit was in his room.
You.
Yeah, I know. And you're just like, no, thank you. And then in room 220, apparently for a while had a long-term guest who was a little weirdo, a little bizarre, who liked to hang meat from the chandelier in the room.
I don't think that's allowed.
Yeah, I know. You're just like, is this normal? Wait, what? Why?
I don't think you're supposed to do that.
What are we doing here? Yeah. So, but one day one of the staff found him dead in the room, and he had been dead for several days. And so now room 220 has this reputation of unusual noises. You can hear people inside coughing or laughing or conversations, even though there's nobody. That room has not been rented to anybody. It's not being used. And there was one guy who was like, after the room had been cleaned, left, came back, and it was like the bed was torn up and the TV was on blasting loudly. So it's like whatever spirit is in that room is just like, get out. Like he's
Yeah.
he's a menace. He's a menace to society, apparently. He's just like, no thanks, guys. I don't want to be here, so I'm just gonna tear up this room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he turns on the TV and turns it up full blast. Could you imagine? That would terrify me. Like you wake up in the middle of the night, the TV's just blaring. You're
blast,
like, yeah, it's like, nah.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
And in the basement,
No.
Right, you're like, no, we're not talking about the basement because it's your
No.
favorite. It's a crying baby
Ew.
Your favorite. Rumors say that a sex worker gave birth to a baby in the tunnels under the hotel, and then she was forced to kill it after she gave birth to it. So that's why sometimes when you go down to the basement, you could hear
You're
just
crying baby.
it's
Oh.
terrible. It's terrible.
Oh.
Also in the basement, there is something called the Shadow Man.
No.
It's a tall. I know, right? You're like, no,
No.
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 Tall,
No.
it's a tall, menacing figure that tries to intimidate people. And I'm like,
No.
yeah, I'd be intimidated. I don't want to go down there. No, thank you.
There will be no basement dwelling for us. Nope.
You're like, no, we're not going
Nope.
to the basement ever. No. Um, Other things that go on at this hotel are your typical like disembodied voices, phantom footsteps, moving furniture, typical stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. There was one where I read like one room had like a rocker in it. You could just see the chair rocking on its own. And there is a dancing couple that there you can see them sometimes in the lounge dressed in like their formal best and they're just dancing with each other and smiling.
I mean, that sounds
So
okay.
I know, right? But you're like, what happened to them? Why are they still haunting this place if they're okay? Like,
Maybe
what?
it's a happy thing. Maybe they're having a happy memory.
Maybe. I hope so.
I mean, there's got
But
to be
anyway,
something good.
right. So it just seems like a lot of bad things have kind of gone down at this hotel, especially
Uh-huh.
like because there were the tunnels underneath where all the bad shit went down, and you're like,
Right.
yeah. So, but yeah, this is the story of the Monte Vista in Flagstaff, Arizona, and it's haunted.
That's amazing. I mean, I hate it.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
but I was like, that one guy like lived there in the '80s, the guy who like hung meat, and I'm like, what? That's recent. That's like way more recent.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Not that
I
that makes it
don't.
any better. I don't
I
know if
don't
I want some
understand.
old. I don't know if I want an old timey ghost or a recent ghost, but still, that's like what?
I want the ghost that doesn't like try and strangle me. That's all. Like, or
Right,
glare at the TV in the middle of the night. Like,
right,
why can't we have like a ghost that does nice things, like make sure your alarm is set, or helps clean up, or brings you new
right,
towels, or whatever, flush your
right.
pillows.
Exactly.
Exhausting.
Yes. I'm always just like, it's always hotels that are haunted. Like, it's always like
Well,
haunted
yeah. I
hotels.
mean, I guess because so many people pass through, it's inevitable something bad will happen, right?
Right. I mean, that's fair.
So, there you go. That was great, Claire. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I loved that. I hated that. I'm never going there.
I know, right? You're like, let's not stay there.
I did not stay at the Monte Vista Hotel when I stayed in Flagstaff. I stayed at like a Best Western or something.
There you go. You're
so
like, it's a generic.
I'm not classy like that. I'm sorry. I'm like, oh, it's a Holiday Inn Express.
Right, exactly. You're like, we're at the Motel 6 because they kept the light on for me.
That's right. They kept that light on for me.
That's right.
I do remember though, when I did, because Flagstaff is sort of on, like it's a mountain. So like, I had been driving through the desert, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm staying on a mountain where it's snowing. I was so confused because this is the middle of summer, by the way. It was just like a weird thing. It's like so cold. It's like, whoa.
You're like, what is happening?
I don't understand. That's all I have. I don't remember anything else about Flagstaff.
Nice.
Well, I guess that means that it must be time for Tarot Time with April.
Yes. Yes.
I had to take a moment because I have to set my phone magically will connect. Isn't that cool?
What?
Like, my phone is not connected to my computer at all, but because it's Apple, it's like, sure, I can be a camera for you. I'm like, oh.
Oh, nice.
Aren't you fancy? All right. I don't have all of my cool things, but I do have my tarot cards.
That's right. You're like, I don't have all the things.
I could only take a carry-on because I was going through New York.
Right.
All right, Claire, tell me when to start. I feel the need to sing like Hotel California because it sort of connects your hotel to my California person.
Right.
And also, it's haunted. So
yes. But
welcome
also,
to the Hotel California.
I hate that song.
Really?
It's just so overplayed. It's like
I mean, that's fair.
I think that's why.
Like, I don't love it. I don't know that I would even say I like it. It's just a song.
Right.
It exists in the world.
I think it's just I'm tired of hearing it. Stop.
Okay.
It's just like out of all the Eagles songs.
I have to find where the camera is. Doop. Doop.
They have so many songs. Why are we still playing that one?
I don't know, but we're starting our week off with The Hanged Man.
Ooh.
I also did not bring my book, so that'll be fun. I'll have to look this up. And then the middle of our week will be the 10 of Pentacles.
The 10.
Actually, you'll have to look them up. I no longer have a device to look anything up
on.
Oh,
since you have your thing.
And we will end our week with the 4 of Swords, which, normally I'd be afraid of, but this cat looks like he's sleeping very peacefully and resting. So, like, I'm hoping that's good for us.
Right. You're like, what?
Give me some good love, please. I need it. So, Claire, congratulations. You get to actually read our tarot this week.
Oh, boy.
Are you excited?
Well, I don't have that book that's got all that handy-dandy
It doesn't matter. We can just, like, a quick little smidge bit to inform us of what we need to know. The Hanged Man, my memory is that in the Hanged Man is that he could get out of his mess if he wanted to, but he's kind of like, nah, I'm fine.
Right.
Having a good time. Being me.
Okay, here it is. An image of a man being hanged upside down by one ankle.
Mm-hmm.
This method of hanging was a common punishment at the time for traitors in Italy. However, the solemn expression on his face traditionally suggests that he is there by his own accord, and that the card is meant to represent self-sacrifice more so than it does corporal punishment or criminality.
That is a great card for me for this week, as I am painting a house all week, so cool. Self-sacrifice.
Other interpretations, the hangman is a depiction of the Norse god Odin, who suspended himself from a tree in order to gain knowledge.
Oh,
there is also a Christian interpretation that portrays Judas Iscariot and includes the bags of silver in his hands.
Well, that's not this one, so.
No. It's like, what? All
right, then. Okay, how about the 10 of Pentacles?
10 of Pentacles. Mm-hmm. Oh, here, wait. Back to the hangman. The hangman. Wisdom, circumspection, discernment, trial, sacrifice, intuition, divination, prophecy.
Cool.
Those are the words. Okay. So, 10 of Pentacles. If I can type right.
Alright, I can edit out some of the dead space.
Okay, here we go. Unexpected financial windfall.
Ooh. I want that.
Or in a general context, the 10 of Pentacles represents solid foundations, security, and happiness in all areas of your life. Like all Pentacle cards, it's usually connected to financial or material issues, so you can expect especially good things in those areas of your life when it appears.
Yay!
Is also a good card to get in relation to family, as it represents family responsibilities, family values, and support. You could find yourself tracing your ancestry or discovering your family tree when it appears. You may be feeling very close to your family at this time, as the 10 of Pentacles can signify domestic harmony. Where you may be looking forward to a family event, celebration, or gathering. I was just telling people today, I'm like, I'm so looking forward to Thanksgiving. I was just saying that. I was like, I can't wait for Thanksgiving. Anyway.
All right. The 4 of S words.
The 4 of S words. Let's see. 4 of S words. Let's go back to the tarot guide one. That one was helpful. Some, I guess, keywords: fear, anxiety, stress, feeling overwhelmed, mental overload, needing solitude. It's upright, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In general context, the four swords represents fear, anxiety, and stress. You will be feeling overwhelmed and mentally overloaded when it appears.
That doesn't make sense.
The issues.
They saw me sleep on my card.
Nah, the issues you're facing are actually not as bad as you believe them to be, and there are solutions available. However, it suggests that you are allowing negativity to set in and becoming so overwhelmed that you cannot see the woods for the trees. This card is more to do with your mental state than any problems you are facing. Relax, regroup, and contemplate your situation in a calm, rational way.
So, in other words, it's the reminder that you should go back and take a nap.
Probably.
Because he's literally taking a nap. Like, he's just
I think we had this. Didn't we have this one? We had this one. And I think this was the take the nap card.
We had to go take the nap card, but I can't remember what it was. But, like, I'm just going to say this is the take a nap. We're going to go take a nap.
Here it is. Indicates that you are in need of peace and quiet, introspection, rest, relaxation, and sanctuary.
There we go. Okay.
It's a card. It is a card of recuperation and hospitalization, and it signifies having faith or receiving spiritual counseling or support. Yep.
So we're gonna get ourselves into a mess of our own choosing, and then we're gonna have our family help us out, and then we're gonna take a nap. Is that?
Yes.
Because like that is literally my week, by the way.
So basically, it's talking about Thanksgiving, is what it's talking about.
No, it's talking about my week. So I got myself in a situation of I'm painting Spencer's house, which is insane, because I'm insane. And then my family's going to come help me because they do that. And then I'm going to take a nice nap.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
Thank you. All right. On to our Wheel of Fate, Claire.
Hooray.
Hooray, hooray. What is going to be this week's topic? Do you have an idea? Because I don't.
You'll have to tell me, because I can't see it.
Here we go. It's spinning. It's spinning. And it's saying that it is history.
Oh boy.
We're back into history. Well, that's fun. We like history. There's lots of weird stuff that happened in history.
I was going to say, history's so broad, we could be anything.
I know. In fact, I might have one. Because I had one of those weird things of, I didn't know that, and I'm very comfortable knowing that now.
Nice.
So I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. All right. Well, until then, you can find us in all the things and at all the places at
Brunch and Judge.
Please follow, like, comment, subscribe, yada yada. Good times. And you can send us some more topics for our wheel or any particular stories you'd like us to cover to us at
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
So until next time, keep on brunching
and keep on judging. Bye.